Before you say it, yes, I know I need a haircut and I'm trying to find a barber that's actually open. I think I might have found one, so hopefully next time I'll have a shorter crop. Right, here we go again. You ask, I answer. Did you enjoy the last video about communication? I did, I quite enjoyed doing that one, but then communication is one of my favourite topics, let's say. Okay, James from Singapore asks, for companies that focus purely on project management, how do you convince them that they should adopt change management as well? Or another way of putting it, how can you prove that change management is worth the investment? Okay. Kind of guess why James asked that question, because James has been through, and a quick plug, my 2-day online Fundamentals of Change Management workshop, and part of that workshop is the difference between change management and project management, and we discussed that at some level of detail, so that's why he asked the question, I think. Maybe, I don't know, whatever, he asked the question anyway. I also recently had an interesting exchange with a Kwami O and a Rizwana Narvel about the general subject of project management and change management. I have to say that there are still some pretty strong views out there about the subject. Should one person do it? Should another person do it? Should it be two people that do it? Should it be a collaborative effort? What is the situation? Project managers say one thing, change managers say another. Okay, but hey, it all makes for interesting debate, doesn't it? Anyway, onward and upward. The first thing you'll probably hear from organisations is something like, we have managed projects in the past without change management, so why should we spend the money now and provide it this time? Is it worth it? Okay, let me focus on we have managed projects in the past, which clearly indicates that they have used project managers, and as a consequence, they were given a responsibility for change. Yeah, okay. Time for some clarity, I think. Project management is about installation. It focuses on a plan built around events and timelines with the aim of getting from a current state, no installation, to a future state, installation achieved. A project manager wants to deliver on time, to quality, and within budget. Change management is about adoption. It focuses on the people aspects of the change with the aim of getting a critical mass of people to learn new behaviours and sustain them willingly. A change manager's ultimate aim is business readiness, adoption, and usage. So, installation may have been achieved via project management, but was business readiness, adoption, and usage achieved by project management? Good question. Answer it. Only joking. Project management and change management are sometimes in direct opposition to each other in terms of roles and responsibilities. Let me give you some examples. A project management role focuses on resource management, project planning and reporting, management of risks and issues, budget management, and project documentation. A change management role focuses on communication and engagement, managing stakeholders, leadership support and engagement, managing resistance, and dealing with that good old company culture. Organisations typically understand project management, and what is required to successfully install a new system, but may not feel that change management is essential or even necessary throughout the transition. Hence the question, I suppose. Definitely. Many well-known organisations like the Big Four, Bain, Gartner Group, HBR, Oxford University, ProSci, Towers and Watson have all studied business change and transformation for ad infinitum, decades actually. Most categorically state that there is a greater likelihood of achieving a desired outcome and higher return on investment when people are well supported through change. The problem is that these studies and supporting data are just that, data points, and they lack context and examples. Numbers alone rarely influence thinking or behaviour. By themselves, statistics do not make good cases. It's kind of it in a nutshell, I suppose. So let me go back to the question, or part of the question. How do you convince organisations that they need change management? Painting pictures around statistics and data points through simple representations and stories, bring them to life. So they are more recognisable and more relevant. There's nothing like a good old story. You know what I mean? Focusing on simple narratives, figures of speech and statistics all tell a good story. So it does no harm to start by focusing on the negatives. Yes, I did say that, focus on the negatives, but please do not mention the 70% failure rate figure. Thank you. Begin with why there is failure and how it destroys value. Share examples of projects that struggled and what was done to realign them. Ask about past projects which failed and for what reason did they fail. Doing these things will hopefully illustrate and guide the discussion without actually leading it. Then, wham! When the time is right, focus on the positives, such as the importance of change leadership and sponsorship and how that led to success. Share stories again, of successful initiatives and what made them successful. Connect change management to outcomes to business results. For example, it doesn't matter what changes are implemented, because if people don't change, you won't ultimately achieve what you set out to achieve. Point out the return on investment of change, such as speed of adoption. How quickly will people be up and running, and how have they adopted the new ways of working? Then on the amount of usage. How many people are demonstrating buy-in and are actively transacting in the new ways of working? Adoption and usage are what I call the holy grail of change management. Have you read my article on LinkedIn about that? You should do. Just go to my profile and find it. People will too frequently focus on the negatives and not the positives, although it's worth, as I said, it's worth focusing on the negative to start with, but not a great deal, okay? Just look at everyone that uses that, sorry, I'm going to have to mention it again, 70% failure statistic to try and sell their wares. Another one of my big bugbears, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. Guess what? I'm going to be talking about 70% failure in my next video. Yes, I am. So let's look at some of the primary reasons for applying change management, shall we? To increase the probability of project success, to achieve the benefits of employee adoption and usage again, to manage employee resistance, and to build change competency in an organisation. Talking of statistics and data points, of course, there are plenty of them you can draw on and refer to. So I think I'll just mention a few. From their benchmarking studies, ProSci say 96% of participants with excellent change management met or exceeded objectives, whilst only 16% of those, did I say 96%? I meant 86%. While only 16% of those with poor change management met or exceeded objectives. In other words, projects with excellent change management were 6 times more likely to meet objectives than those with poor change management. Some more facts and figures, nearly there. From a LinkedIn survey of quite a few years back now, but still relevant, I think. In answer to the question, how important is project management to change success? 25% said critical, 67% said necessary, and the rest said nice to have. Alternatively, in answer to the question, how important is change management to project success, 49% said critical, and 43% said necessary, and the rest said nice to have. So double, nearly double, said in terms of how important is change management to project success, nearly double said it was critical. Interesting. So there you have it. Proof. Well, kind of, if you believe statistics. I guess at the end of the day, one of the most important factors is, wait for it, budget. Gartner once said, companies underinvest in change management. They allocate only an average of 5% of their program budget to change management. They recommend to allocate an average of 15% of the budget, program budget to change management, but more if changes were significant or the corporate culture was more change averse. I think it kind of would be interesting to know what companies allocate nowadays. I'd guess, I reckon, not a lot more, but then, hey, that's me being a pessimist. All this is well and good, but, you know, and you will always get organisations and leaders who don't listen to facts, unfortunately, or reasoned argument even, who think they know best. Hey, look at me, I know what I'm doing, I know best. We've always done it that way, to coin a phrase, and we don't see the need for change management. Okay, fine. These organisations and leaders are from what I call, from what I call the ostrich syndrome. Head in the sand and don't want to listen at all. They will never ever get the need for change management for projects. So it's sometimes a waste of your time and effort trying to convince them otherwise. If you come up against these, don't try and convince them. Yeah, cut your losses. Say thank you, do a quick about turn and say thank you very much, but no thanks. It's sometimes the only way. Finally, a few more words of wisdom from ProSci. If we effectively manage the people side of change, it helps us avoid additional and excessive costs and mitigate additional and excessive risks. Positioning change management as a cost avoidance technique or a risk mitigation tactic can be a very effective approach to sharing the value of change management to organisations. I rest my case, my lud. Thank you very much. Done again. Don't forget, Highway of Change, YouTube channel. Subscribe and get notified. Share, send me your questions, etc. Goodbye. See you again next week.